For someone to be as successful as Issa Rae, you would think that she wouldn't struggle with imposter syndrome. But after watching Not My Best Moment, the new podcast with KevOnStage, I realized that there's some things that both her and him struggle with in regards to imposter syndrome that I want to talk about from a licensed therapist perspective. But before we get started, put in the comment section, what did you think about this interview, the things that Issa Rae said? And if you haven't watched it yet, go on over. I'll link it in the description and you can check it out. It's about less than 50 minutes long. So it was clear to me that Issa has imposter syndrome, and so does KevOnStage. We're gonna talk about that in a second, but the thing that I loved most about this interview was that they were on the same page. They were vibing out, they were feeling each other, and it was because they are both in the industry and they understand and get each other. If you've never been a part of media and television and entertainment, it's a whole different world. So if you're not a part of that world, something just really doesn't make sense. But when you find someone who is in that world with you, has done some of the things that you've done, or similarly, you vibe out and you feel like you're here with it. Even one of the things that I learned when I was a resident therapist on a TV show on OWN called Love Goals, which is no longer on the air, but you know, your girl was still on there. I learned that the industry is all about timing, right? And oftentimes things really just go very slow. Issa Rae talked about Insecure going through 8 to 9 different revisions in order for us to see the final product that we have seen today. And the industry is very much a hurry up and wait. Hurry up, let's do this right now. And then they have you wait. And it's like, well, why did you have me rushing trying to do all of these things if you was gonna have me wait literally years in order for the final project to come out? And honestly, that can be very frustrating to a creator, especially Issa talked about, hey, I kind of needed that money. I kind of needed that bag. So for a show to be in development for that long, it can be very frustrating, even though it is an amazing opportunity. Oftentimes, I think as creators, we're so used to that immediate hit, like Issa talked about and KevOnStage talked about. You can go on YouTube and create a video right now, edit it down, bust it down, and it'll be out to the world. But sometimes when you're working on larger projects, or all the time, when you're working on larger projects, especially with a big company like HBO, and Kev is doing Tubi, and Kev is doing Fuse TV, and Kev is doing all of these things, it's a longer process. The best thing that any creator can do is to just focus on divine timing. Like, your stuff is gonna come out if it's supposed to come out. Your stuff is gonna come out when it's supposed to come out, when it's based on divine timing and when God wants it to. Now, Issa Rae talked about this concept of not feeling successful unless she had a show currently out on air. That blew my mind. Right now, she talked about she doesn't have any shows on air, so she just basically feels like she's nothing, that she's a loser, that she hasn't accomplished anything. And I'm like, pause. This is actually giving imposter syndrome. This is you separating yourself from success. And this is that inner bully that my boy Steven Lewis and my colleague and my friend talked about in the other video that we already did on imposter syndrome. I'll link it up here and put it in the description if you want to check it out to get more knowledge on it. So like separating yourself from your success, not taking credit for all of the past accomplishment. Girl, you did Insecure. Girl, you did Sweet Life. Girl, you did Rap. You did all of these things that were really successful. Why aren't you giving yourself credit, boo? To me and so many other people, so many other creators, so many other Black creators that are looking up to you. You had a successful YouTube thrive, right? Awkward Black girl. And it is that ish. Like, there's so many things that I really want her to soak in and just be like, yeah, I did that. Now, when KevOnStage said, you know, you got a show coming out, or it's over, or the season is over, or it didn't do what you thought that it was gonna do, it got canceled. He said, oh, I feel like I'm nothing again. And Issa Rae cracked up. She started rolling. She had her head back, having a blast of a time. But what it really said to me was that you really think you're nothing if you don't have a show currently out on air? You really think you're going back to being nothing just because you don't have something current? That's a scary mind place to be. Now, I appreciate the honesty and I love that she shared that, because you would think someone as successful as her wouldn't have those types of issues. We all go through it. We all have our moments of imposter syndrome. I've had my moments there too, so I'm not here to judge. But what was very humbling is that they both talked about, what if this all goes away? What if we wake up tomorrow and nobody's watching our social media? What if we wake up tomorrow and all of our shows are off the air? What if we wake up tomorrow and it's a completely different ball game? Or we get canceled, because cancel culture is very real. It's very humbling, because It's true. At any moment, your fame, your notoriety, your followers, your everything could be taken away. And it could be taken away from things that are outside of your control. So you can say one thing and people not like it and now they're done with you. Or you can say a thing and people misunderstand what you're saying and then they try to cancel you from that too. So it is a very scary place and a scary time to be in during this phase and during this era. That's why Issa Rae was like, baby, that's why I don't be on social media like that. She was like, I only show up to announce information, to say, hey, a new show is coming out, or hey, I'm doing this, or hey, whatever fill in the blank is. But she said, I'm not on there all day, every day. I'm not updating y'all on my life because it's just too risky. Even though I get that, I absolutely get that. I appreciate how KevOnStage navigates his social media every single day, 365 days. He is posting something. I follow him on all the platforms, YouTube, Threads, Instagram, all of these different platforms, and he truly posts some form of content every single day. And to even post a short or a reel or something that is video form every single day is very taxing. Still shows up for his audience. He still promotes his book. He still goes on tour. He still does all of the things because truthfully, it can all go away in an instant. Being that I know KevOnStage is a man of faith and he's Christian, I think it's really important for him to put these things into perspective too. He's worked very hard to get to where he's at. This is why I've been rocking with and loving his new book. This ain't even no promo or anything. I really got his book and started reading it, and it's been blessing me. Thank you, KevOnStage. Before we move on, it has come to my attention that only about 4 to 5% of you guys who watch my videos are subscribed to my channel. We gotta get that number way up. Help your girl out. If you are enjoying this video or any of my other ones, please do not be afraid to hit that subscribe button and the notification button so I can keep creating videos like this for y'all every single week. Now let's get back to it. There's a few more things that I want to talk to you guys about. They talked about this feeling of excessive guilt. Like if a show got canceled because Sweet Life and got canceled for Issa Rae, and she said she felt really bad about the writers and the actors and all of the different people who worked on that project, because she was like, dang, I don't know where these people are going to go, because we know that times are hard in the media coming out of the whole strike and the actor strike and all of these things that happened a few years ago. It's still very much a tricky industry to navigate. Speaks to her being a great person. That speaks to her wanting to be nice and kind and helpful to as many people as possible, right? Like treating everyone with kindness is something that the theme kind of that I've heard from both of them. They were like, it don't matter if a person is a PA. A PA is a production assistant, and they may go and get lunch for people, go get people's coffee, go get toilet paper, do whatever they need to do on set. They're basically like a little assistant. But those people can easily become a higher role at any given time. So make sure you're treating everybody with kindness. People that are in front of the camera and people behind the camera too, that you don't ever see. The beautiful part about both of them in this interview was that they fronted their own money for the projects and to basically fund their dream. I thought that was powerful. I thought that was amazing, because there's so many people who want opportunities to be handed to them and, you know, just go through the big production companies and pitch yourself and do all of those things. But sometimes you do gotta fund that pilot. Sometimes you do gotta, you know, create the whole first season for somebody to be like, okay, you're onto something. But those things are not cheap, right? Those things are not cheap at all. And so they both came out of their own pocket. A lot of the times that was only money that they had, but they were like, I have to bet on myself. And that was something so powerful and something that I put in my back pocket too, because I am in the process of developing a show. And I just realized, I was like, look, I gotta front my own money for this. So to see them and hear them say that, because obviously I'm looking up to them, I think that that gave me the fuel that I needed to do what I needed to do as well. So thank y'all for saying that. But regardless of what they're going through personally, professionally, you know, all of these different things, I really would like for both of them to continue to go to see their own therapist. No, I know KevOnStage talked about seeing a therapist. I don't know if Issa does, but this whole imposter syndrome and guilt and feeling like you're nothing if you don't have something on the air, man, you've had so many amazing accomplishments up until this point. Don't forget those things. I don't care if they were last week or 20 years ago, you still did that. And one of the things that I do know is the bigger you get, the more things that's going to be on your plate. The bigger you get, the more things that you have to unpack. And so when you are kind of like on a smaller level, you know, you haven't made it to the pinnacle yet, you have the time to say, you know what, let me get into therapy. Let me work through my ish. Because what's going to happen when you get more money, when you get more fame, when people do know your name even more on a higher level, it gets a little tricky. And so it's important to handle your stuff and unpack it and be in therapy and work through your stuff now. Because if not, it's going to rear its ugly head later. And we don't want those type of issues. That's why we see so many celebrities who die by suicide, so many celebrities who self-harm, or they're into drugs and alcohol and they're not making the right choices because they didn't unpack their stuff. I really enjoyed this episode. If you haven't watched it, again, go on over, check it out. But make sure to like, comment, and subscribe here, and I will talk to you later. Be blessed. Bye.